So what I offer to you to consider is that the infrastructure for Satan, for Lucifer and his minions, his demons, his creatures, are that infrastructure system is being built here that mirrors what exists on the other side. So I just offer that for consideration.
Now, consider the possibilities. Wow. Please note here, I have not said the probabilities, but rather the possibilities. Consider that all things are possible, however unlikely they may seem. In other words, all things must seriously be considered in order to be considered serious. Okay, yeah, I had to look at that again too. Let's see. All things must seriously be considered in order to be considered serious. Why so serious?
Why so serious?
With all the increase of strange phenomena, severe weather incidents, wildfires, earthquakes, war, civil unrest, and the list goes on and on. I mean, really, you could open a can of conspiracy theories for any subject you care to discuss. It's just the world of deception you live in. Many people, however, have noted how many of these events seem to come in waves. Now, we're not talking about waves like a baby saying goodbye or a bleacher full of fans doing the wave for some team, but rather waves perhaps better understood by observing a pebble striking the surface of water, the ripples expanding outward from the point of impact, those kind of waves, to describe the progression of events mentioned earlier, like the weather patterns increasing in intensity and frequency. To really grasp or take hold of where this video is headed, it may be important to note, when discussing waves or wave function, that there are two main words used to describe the measurements of said waves: longitudinal, which describes the length or linear progression, and transverse, which addresses the crests and troughs, or the height and depth of the wave as it moves through whatever medium you're looking at, in this case, water. When the pebble or stone hits the surface, it sends out a shock wave, as it were, and can be witnessed as ripples or waves extending out from the point of impact. This can also be observed with an explosion as the percussion waves move out from the detonation center. Now, you're probably already wondering, what has this got to do with you or the title of this video? Remember, I said we need to consider all the possibilities, and therefore it has everything to do with you, as well as all of humankind for that matter. Each opinion and point of view should be considered before drawing a conclusion about anything. So don't forget to comment and share. Now, keeping in mind the idea of wave function, let's consider for a moment the theory of retrocausality. This is the idea that something has taken place in the future that causes an effect in the present. Now, even science and every religion actually teaches this to some level in one form or another. For example, all the ancient prophecies tell of future events to take place in the present, here and now, for whatever generation may be reading the prophecy at the time. In other words, any day could be our last day, for no one has a promise of tomorrow. Now, put like that, it sounds pretty doom and gloom, but scientifically, it's a plain biological fact. People die every day. You live and you die, and no one is guaranteed their next breath or their next heartbeat. So rather than focus on the inevitable reality of the fleshly demise, that word we call death, it is easier as a human to just imagine you'll live forever and thereby remove any anxiety or fear of one's own end. There should be no fear at all. When looking into the future, whether through the eyes of science or some ancient prophecy, trigger words for fear will keep popping up in the mindsets of those stuck in this media-trained society, which leads to cognitive dissonance and a complete shutdown and rejection of proposed theories or ideas that are outside of one's own comfort zone. So if you can look past your own fears as well as your belief systems long enough to grasp a concept that is both plausible in the field of quantum mechanics and entertainable to those of a more spiritual nature at the same time, then we can better understand retrocausality and how it may very well explain what is actually taking place with this quantum manipulation, or more popularly termed the Mandela effect.
It really doesn't matter whether you're a new Earth guy or an old Earth guy.
Some childhood memories are so vivid you remember them perfectly. But what if those memories are wrong? And thousands of others have the exact same false memories.
The internet is buzzing about this new phenomenon that's called the Mandela effect.
All of us fall victim to false memory. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow and it's divided in 4 basic stages.
We gave you false memories.
According to the Mandela effect, there are several pop culture memories we all seem to get wrong. Take, for example, the iconic Queen song, "We Are the Champions." We've all chimed in at the bar, belting out that famous last line, "'Cause we are the champions of the world." But we've been singing it wrong. The lyrics of "the world" aren't even in the last line.
Hey, stop right there, mass media. That's a lie, and you gotta know it. How else do you account for 3 different occasions where Queen is singing in their concerts, "We are the champions of the world"? That's right. The whole mass population knows that song, been programmed to sing that song. You call me a psychopath, right? Well, listen, I'm just going to tell you something right now, okay? Copy this, recopy it, redistribute it, because who knows, they'll probably change the ending on these too. Copyright strikes, whatever. Anyway, y'all, hang in there. It gets better. We are the champions. No time for losers. We are champions of the world.
There's a video called Happy at CERN that the folks at the USLHC uploaded to YouTube in November of 2014. It's getting some play because folks are seeing a connection to the Mandela effect. And so they should. You don't have to be Einstein to see this as incriminating evidence and admission that they're responsible. We're not the first ones to give this some attention, but we're going to go deeper into the symbolism, shining more light in the darkness to bring their shadowy agendas into view. Here's the most interesting bit.
If you feel like that's what you want to do, bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high to bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
All through the video, people are dancing to the song Happy by Pharrell Williams. There's a few flying and spinning stunts with green screen special effects, but this guy in the messy office stands out like a sore thumb. What's going on here? Bottom line, it's a song and dance routine. This song and dance is intended to deceive, to mislead. It's an evasive ploy, a distraction, misdirection. We are happy at CERN. Okay, but look at the other signs. He's got placards hanging around his neck. On number 1, and Mandela. His shirt has math on it, which is a clue. It means do the math, solve the equation. On the wall poster, there's a big piece of a jigsaw puzzle. It means there's a puzzle here, find the pieces and put it together. In the James Bond franchise, the first actor to play the role of Bond was Barry Nelson in 1954. The orange sign says Mandela. Do the math. Barry Nelson plus Mandela equals Barry Nelson Mandela. The phenomena that has become known as the Mandela effect is named for the former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Many people remember that he died in the early 80s when he was in prison. Yet somehow all the evidence suggests that he got out of prison and lived until 2013. This guy is doing his version of the song and dance routine with a sign. We are happy at CERN. The @ symbol is a sign that tells us that they know how to use symbols. He covers his face with it. He gestures with it as his contribution to the song and dance routine. It's providing cover, not so much for his face, but for the real meaning of what's going on. It's not just cover for the scene, and we know this because what's written on the sign tells us that the meaning of the entire video is hidden and revealed. The guy is playing peekaboo, a game you play with infants. Now you see him, now you don't. Isn't this the way of the Mandela effect? One day it's mirror, mirror on the wall, and the next day it's magic mirror on the wall. Peekaboo. Folks, we're being mocked. See all the piles of paper? Really, who has an office like that? It's part of the set design. Think of how the Mandela effect deals with a collection of memories, like a stack of papers in a collection of documents. Some bound, some unbound. They're in the business of shuffling memories around like documents in big piles. The sight of such a mess and the obvious potential there is for piles to topple over raises stress in many people. This is one of the results of the Mandela effect, which is really stressing a lot of people out. There's more symbols here, and we're going to keep exposing them. But do you see how this is an admission that they're responsible for the effect without them actually coming right out and saying it? Here's a little scene where they're dancing all over and around Code 33.
If you feel like happiness is the truth, like happiness is the truth, like happiness is the truth.
The number 33 is a big deal, and not just to the Freemasons. Notice the other emergency vehicle is signaling the mirroring of fire. As above, so below. Fire is one of the 4 elements honored with its watchtower or guardian when a magic circle is cast for the performance of a ritual. As we play through the context of this scene with the firemen, you'll see how this is part of the ritual casting of a magic circle. Witches cast a circle beginning with air, and so we see a man flying through the air. Fire comes next, then water, then the earth, and the circle is cast. They show us one of the circles of the LHC as the magic circle. To show us the water, they do some charades with a group waving their arms, then a woman making a wave. We see big tanks and lots of the color blue. I think they obfuscate the water sequence and extend it because water is a symbol of time, and that's really what they're hiding. Here's a screenshot from 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a 33 on the counter. Player 1, Player 2. Do you think we're being played? The video ends a few seconds later. Game over? Is that why they're so happy, because they think it's game over? The score showing is rather one-sided. You have to admit, with the reality of the Mandela effect, it looks like their boast is legit. However, this game over bit they're dancing all over, it ain't over till it's over, and it ain't over yet. There are some other symbols in this commercial that should really speak to you about what's going on here. See this design on the pillow? It's called a mandala. These designs are used for meditative purposes, for attaining altered states of consciousness for the purpose of establishing a connection with the divine, which is to say, entering into communion with demons. Mandala. Think Mandela, like Nelson Mandela and the Mandela effect. This phenomenon that has become known as the Mandela effect has captured a lot of people's attention, but most have no idea really what to make of it. This mandala design on the pillowcase is a message. Let it speak to you in the context. The Mandela effect is a demonstration of the power to turn back time, to manipulate history itself. These sci-fi channel producers are literally magicians who are practicing ritual magic through the embedding of time codes and occult symbols, even a form of time magic. It's about the power to turn back time, which is the whole premise of the commercial. We refer to magic and time magic. This is CERN's deal, which gives homage to the horned god invoked during ceremonial magic. CERN Nunos.
She will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands hands of time. Hour, before my final rhyme, she will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time.
Please, we really need you. I'm just here about the portal. Wait a minute! The chosen one can align the fates and save the 12 lands from the forces of darkness.
When the clock strikes heavy and there's no time for tea, in our darkest hour,
stop to water, so they say.
Close in the door, they say.
They say she's the chosen one.
Peculiar place to have a party.
Once you realise that these stories, like Alice in Wonderland, are actually allegories of Luciferian principles, made more digestible to the public by the use of cute fairy tales, do we start to understand more of the language that they're trying to convey. And this is exactly why the Large Hadron Collider at CERN has got an instrument called Alice, because it represents the